Hey everyone, I'm starting a new series on this channel called What I Watched This Month. Yes, it is a series Carson Runquist is doing, but I think the structure is really interesting and wanted to do it for myself. Mr. Runquist, I am a new fan and I'm loving your videos. If you see this and want me to remove this video, just tell me. Alright, on to the video. On January 1st, I watched Inception. I'm starting to get into like cinema, and I thought this would be the perfect movie to start with, and I was right. This movie blew me away and everything about it was awesome. The only thing I wish was a little better was the characters, aside from Elliot Page, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Cillian Murphy, but this really was a great way to start the year. And then on January 2nd, I decided to watch Grown Ups 2. I enjoyed the first Grown Ups somewhat, but this was a steep drop off, and I ended up having to turn the film off. The comedy just wasn't for me, and I disliked it. First Grown Ups got like a 3 out of 5, and this one got like a 1 out of 5. Not a great movie, really. After my blunder of Grown Ups 2 on the same day, I turned on 21 Jump Street, and man, how alive this movie made me feel. It was funny and the characters were very likable. The only complaint I would have is the writing isn't some great masterpiece, but like it's 21 Jump Street. If you walked in on this expecting some great masterpiece on the level of Citizen Kane, that's kind of on you. On the 3rd of January, I watched Anaconda and enjoyed it well enough. Some jokes were really funny, but my only complaints are I didn't really get attached to any characters. Jack Black was kind of just playing Jack Black, and Paul Rudd was kind of just playing Paul Rudd. The jump scares were pretty predictable, and I felt it start to drag a little bit. It might have just been that there were a lot of moments where you were like, okay, there must be only 10 minutes left. On the 5th of January, I watched a Muppet movie, and I love the Muppets, so I loved this movie. It was very charming and funny, and the villain is hilarious. Really fun road trip movie. On the 6th of January, I watched The Great Muppet Caper, and unfortunately I can't tell you much about this movie, aside from how it made me feel, which was happy. It must have just been I was tired, because I felt myself falling asleep during it. So, not the movie's fault at all, probably. On the 7th of January, I watched The Muppets Take Manhattan, and I loved it. The characters were still very funny. I like the diner guy, and the other girl, and the director's son. They were good. I do have a few complaints though. I felt it didn't need the Kermit amnesia plot, and I felt that plot point made the movie stretch on a little more than what it needed, to be honest. My other complaint was that the Muppets for most of the movie were separated, and I don't think the Muppets work separated. I think they're at their best when they get to bounce off one another. But the ending made me cry because that was the last Jim Henson Muppet movie. On the 10th of January, I watched Wicked for Good. It was good. Not great, which is unfortunate, but good. I haven't seen the musical, but I really didn't enjoy the story in the second part. I found it really weird how they handled some legacy characters from the old Wizard of Oz movie, and I don't think the plot was nearly as fun as the first. The wonderful song Jeff Goldblum sung was definitely my favourite song in the movie. That was an absolute banger. On the 12th of January, we watched Anaconda, and knowing when it was going to end, I was able to enjoy it a good bit more. The cinema was absolutely annoying though, because kids were behind me running around, throwing popcorn at me, and screaming 6-7. If this is what Jack Black movies in cinemas are like nowadays, I might just wait until they're out on streaming, to be honest. On the 13th, I watched 22 Jump Street, and I enjoyed it as much, if not maybe a little better than the first movie. Really funny, and the characters are still likable. The action in this movie I enjoyed more. I don't know if that's a hot take or anything. We'll probably rewatch these two movies next year. On the 15th, I watched Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and it was fun. Nothing too notable, but still a fun light time. Funny in some places, and the mystery was pretty alright. I didn't expect the twist villain. I thought it would for sure be a live action girl, but it was the Gumby Omni-Man guy.
Are you sure?
On the 16th, I rewatched Anaconda again, and it was as good as the last time. Nothing to really say. On the 17th, I rewatched the Lilo and Stitch live-action movie, and I fear I was far too nice the first time I watched it. Originally, I gave it a 3 out of 5, but now that I rewatch it, I didn't laugh or have that much fun. The movie had a lot of unnecessary changes, and that really took a lot of my fun out of it. Hashtag not my jumbo. On the 18th, I rewatched Fantastic Mr. Fox to feel what a good movie was again. And yep, this sure is still one of my favourite movies of all time. The characters are extremely likeable, it's a very funny movie, and the animation is just fantastic. Also on rewatch, I definitely see a lot of autism traits in both Mr. Fox and Ash. Really good movie. You should watch it if you haven't. On the 19th, I rewatched TMNT Mutant Mayhem, and it was still really good. Turtles and April feel like real teenagers, and the animation style is weirdly beautiful, but like in an ugly sort of way too. Definitely intentional. Fight scenes were great, and I'm just a massive fan of the Turtles, so whenever they get a good adaptation that doesn't make them god-awful CGI abominations, Michael Bay, I'm all for it. On the 20th, I watched The Grand Budapest Hotel, and man was this a movie. It was extremely funny and wacky, while also knowing how to be heartfelt. and how to make you really feel for the characters. Willem Dafoe was a great villain, and I loved the connection Gustav and Zero had. Also, I've noticed with this and Life of Chuck, I also like it when movies don't really have a happy ending. Like, happy endings are great, but there's just something that hits me when the main character doesn't necessarily get a happily ever after in the traditional sense. On the 21st, I watched Ted, and it was okay. Some jokes were really funny, but weirdly it wasn't the teddy bear I cared about. It was the relationship happening in the background with, like, Mark Wahlberg and the girl. I know it's weird, but, like, I just felt more engrossed with them than what swear word Ted would say next. Overall enjoyable, but nothing mind-blowing. On the 24th, I watched Mighty Supreme. Mighty Supreme was absolute cinema, man. It was so well written, and I especially loved the characters. Like, Marty's an asshole, but I still loved how Timothée Chalamet played him, you know? Also, man, that ending was so happy. Sad. You know, I cried, so that's something. Also, damn was this movie exhilarating. I felt my heartbeat go faster so many times during this movie, which is exactly why it's my 4th favourite movie of all time now. Also on the 24th, I rewatched Dumb and Dumber, and man was this funny. This might actually be in my top 10 favourite comedy films, but I've not made a list for that, so maybe not. Either way, I laughed at so many jokes in this stupid movie. From that scene where they kill that guy, to the other scene where Lloyd is a romantic daydream that devolves into a karate scene, to that toilet scene. I'm not usually too big of a fan of toilet humor, but damn did this one work for me. I think it's his face. That face that he makes sends me. Overall, really funny movie. On the 30th, I rewatched Shrek 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But I watched it with friends at my birthday party, so we were less focused on the movie and more just for vibes and making each other laugh. On the 31st, I watched the SpongeBob movie, Search for SquarePants, and it was fun. Felt like an extended episode of one of the more recent episodes, so nothing that great, but still a fun enough time. Mark Hamill was really good as the Flying Dutchman though. He was definitely the standout. And that's January. Yes, I know this was releasing end of February, but I procrastinated heavily on making this video and I decided to pick it back up, so sorry that this video wasn't the best. I will try to make the videos better moving forward. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.